There are Hollywood legends, and then there is Robert Redford. A name that didn't just belong to one era, it defined multiple ones. Born on August 18, 1936. In Santa Monica, California, Charles Robert Redford Jr. grew up with a keen curiosity about the world. He wasn't the kind of kid who dreamed about Hollywood fame. In fact, he felt more like an outsider, shy, artistic, and deeply observant. His early years were marked by tragedy when he lost his mother at a young age, something that shaped the emotional depth he later carried into his films. Before acting, Redford traveled through Europe, painting, sketching, and searching for purpose. It was only after returning to the U.S. that he discovered theater, and everything changed.
He enrolled at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and soon his raw talent began to shine.
Redford's rise in the 1960s and 70s was nothing short of explosive. From Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid to The Sting, he became the face of effortlessly cool American cinema. His calm voice, piercing eyes, and rebellious charm made him the kind of leading man audiences couldn't forget. But Redford wasn't just an actor. He was a visionary. In 1981, he founded the Sundance Institute, which revolutionized independent filmmaking. Many of today's greatest directors owe their careers to the platform he built. Through Sundance, Redford became a beacon for storytellers who didn't fit inside Hollywood's box. As a filmmaker, he created masterpieces like Ordinary People, which won the Academy Award for Best Director. He championed environmental causes long before it was mainstream. His activism, philanthropy, and artistic impact stretched far beyond movie screens. In his final years, Redford stepped back from public life, spending time with family and focusing on conservation. When he passed away peacefully at the age of 89, the world didn't just lose an actor, it lost one of its most influential cultural figures. Even today, his legacy beats like a quiet heartbeat through indie cinema, environmental activism, and the millions inspired by the Sundance movement. Robert Redford didn't just make movies. He changed what movies could be. There are directors, and then there are artists who turn film into dreams. David Lynch was the latter. Born in 1946 in Montana, Lynch seemed ordinary from the outside, a quiet boy with a fascination for drawing. But inside his mind, worlds were forming. Strange, surreal, haunting, and beautiful worlds. As a student at the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts, he first imagined a painting that moved, a canvas that breathed. That idea led to his first experimental short film, and the world of cinema would never be the same again. His early masterpiece Eraserhead terrified some, confused many, and intrigued everyone. Hollywood wasn't ready for Lynch. But viewers who wanted something deeper, something that poked at the human subconscious, found in him a genius. Then came The Elephant Man, a deeply emotional film that proved Lynch wasn't just a surrealist, he was a storyteller of extraordinary compassion. In the 1990s, he changed television forever with Twin Peaks. The show mixed mystery, horror, small-town drama, and psychological symbolism in a way no one had seen before. Lynch's vision redefined long-form storytelling, spawning an entire new wave of TV creators. He followed with Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, and Lost Highway, films that are still studied in universities worldwide. His signature wasn't violence or shock. It was atmosphere, mood, layers of symbolism that made viewers feel something primal. Lynch lived simply. Coffee, meditation, painting, music, and storytelling. These were the cornerstones of his life. Despite global fame, he remained humble, often saying, "Ideas are gifts. We just have to be open to them." When David Lynch died at the age of 78, tributes poured in not just from Hollywood, but from painters, musicians, psychologists, philosophers, anyone who understood the power of imagination. He didn't just direct films. He built dream worlds and invited us to walk inside. Before Jane Goodall, the world knew almost nothing about chimpanzees. After Jane Goodall, humanity understood itself better. Born in 1934 in London, Jane was enchanted by animals since childhood. While other girls played with dolls, she studied how chickens laid eggs and climbed trees for hours. Her mother didn't scold her. She encouraged her curiosity. Jane dreamed of Africa. But at the time, women were rarely welcomed into scientific expeditions. Still, she saved money, worked as a secretary, and finally traveled to Kenya. There, legendary anthropologist Louis Leakey saw something extraordinary in her: patience, gentleness, and deep observation. At age 26, she entered the Gombe forest alone. And history began. She watched chimpanzees day after day, silently sitting on the forest floor. Months passed with no progress, until one moment changed everything. A chimpanzee named David Greybeard approached her, calmly, softly. He accepted her presence. Jane discovered chimpanzees use tools, something no scientist had ever recorded. Her findings shattered the belief that humans alone were toolmakers. She changed science, anthropology, and the understanding of evolution. Her compassion didn't stop at research. For decades, she fought against deforestation, animal cruelty, and environmental collapse. She traveled the world, inspiring millions, especially young people, through the Jane Goodall Institute, even in her final years. Battling age and health challenges, Jane refused to slow down. She once said, "Every individual makes a difference every single day." Jane Goodall died at 91, but her voice still echoes through wildlife conservation, classrooms, and global activism. She didn't just study animals. She taught humanity to protect them. Some actors perform. Diane Keaton lived through her characters. Born on January 5, 1946. In Los Angeles, Keaton grew up in a home full of art, music, and eccentricity. Her mother was a photographer and amateur filmmaker, someone who believed deeply in capturing the truth of a moment. Diane carried that philosophy into her acting. Before Hollywood knew her, Keaton was on Broadway, performing in the original cast of Hair, but it was her work in Play It Again, Sam, both on stage and later on screen, that first revealed her talent for quirky comedic timing, emotional honesty, and an energy that felt completely new. Then came the role that changed her life, Annie Hall. Woody Allen's unconventional, loose, unscripted filmmaking style matched her perfectly. The character wasn't created. Diane was Annie Hall. From the mismatched outfits to the awkward charm to that iconic la-da-da, she embodied a generation of independent, confused, hopeful women. The world fell in love with her. The performance earned her an Academy Award. But more importantly, it revolutionized the idea of what a leading woman could be: not perfect, not glamorous, not structured. Just real. Redefining romantic leads wasn't her only achievement. Through the Godfather films, she stepped into one of the greatest sagas in cinematic history. As Kay Adams, she portrayed quiet strength, heartbreak, and moral despair with a subtlety that critics still praise. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, Keaton proved she could do anything: drama, comedy, romance. From Reds to Something's Gotta Give. She brought vulnerability and warmth to every performance. Off-screen, Diane Keaton was fiercely private, choosing not to marry and instead creating a life of independence, creativity, and depth. She became a dedicated photographer, memoirist, and preservationist, restoring old houses and celebrating Los Angeles architecture. In her later years, she lived quietly, surrounded by family, art, and memories. Her passing at age 79 marked the end of an era, but her spirit lives on in every actress who dares to be different. Every woman who refuses to fit into society's box. Diane Keaton didn't play characters. She played truths. Gene Hackman was not the typical Hollywood star. He wasn't polished.
He wasn't glamorous.
He was real, brutally, unapologetically real. Born in 1930 in California, Hackman had a difficult childhood. His father left the family when Gene was just a boy, leaving emotional wounds that he carried, shaped, and transformed into one of the greatest acting tools ever seen on screen: intensity. He joined the Marines at age 16 by lying about his age, and after serving overseas, drifted through different jobs, trying to find meaning. He discovered acting almost accidentally, enrolling at the Pasadena Playhouse, where he was voted least likely to succeed. That comment fueled him for life. Hackman rose slowly but powerfully. In 1967, Bonnie and Clyde introduced the world to his raw magnetism. Audiences had never seen someone like him. Unpredictable, flawed, human. Then came The French Connection. His portrayal of Detective Popeye Doyle was ferocious, gritty, and groundbreaking. The performance won him the Academy Award for Best Actor and redefined what a Hollywood hero could be. Not clean, not noble, but deeply, disturbingly human. Hackman carried that unpredictability into roles like The Conversation. Superman, as Lex Luthor, Unforgiven, and Hoosiers. Every performance was honest, layered, and unforgettable. Off camera, he remained private, humble, and uninterested in fame. Unlike many actors, Hackman retired completely from Hollywood, choosing a quiet life of writing novels, painting, and enjoying peaceful years far from the spotlight. When he died at age 95, tributes poured in from directors, actors, critics, and fans who grew up watching him dominate the screen with unmatched presence. Gene Hackman didn't need stunts or glamour. He just needed truth, and he gave it every time. Claudia Cardinale wasn't just a film star. She was a phenomenon. Born in 1938 in Tunis to Sicilian parents, Cardinale grew up in a multicultural world filled with Italian traditions, French influence, and North African warmth. She never dreamed of acting. She wanted to be a teacher. But destiny had other plans. At age 19, she entered a beauty contest in Tunisia, not to compete but to accompany a friend. Unexpectedly, she won the prize, a trip to the Venice Film Festival. There, producers instantly saw what the world would come to adore, a face that could tell stories without a single word. Cardinale moved to Italy and quickly found herself acting alongside giants of European cinema. In Rocco and His Brothers, 8½, and The Leopard, she embodied grace, intelligence, vulnerability, and strength all at once. She didn't speak perfect Italian at first, and her early films had her voice dubbed, but her screen presence was so powerful it didn't matter. She became the symbol of a new wave of European cinema, bold, artistic, emotional. Hollywood soon noticed. She starred with John Wayne in The Magnificent Showman, proving she could command any screen, any language, any audience, off-screen. Cardinale was fiercely independent. Unlike many actresses of her time, she refused roles that portrayed women as weak or overly sexualized. She became an ambassador for women's rights and literacy, dedicating her later years to humanitarian causes. When she passed away at age 87, film festivals worldwide lit candles, played her films, and honored a woman who changed cinema not by conforming, but by redefining beauty and strength. Claudia Cardinale wasn't just an actress. She was cinema in human form. Terence Stamp had a face you couldn't forget, sharp, elegant, intense. A presence that filled the room before he even spoke. Born in London in 1938 to a working-class family, Stamp grew up in the shadow of war-era hardship. His father was often away serving in the merchant navy, leaving young Terence to navigate life through books, films, and an expanding imagination. He began acting in the 1960s, quickly becoming one of the most striking faces of the British New Wave. His early roles in Billy, Budd and the Collector earned him critical acclaim, including an Academy Award nomination that launched him into international fame. Then came Superman 2, where Stamp played General Zod, a performance so iconic. His line "Kneel before Zod" became immortalized in pop culture. He brought a perfect blend of menace and elegance, a villain who didn't shout, but commanded. In the 1990s, he shocked and delighted audiences again in The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, embracing vulnerability, humor, and heart in a way that reminded viewers of his range. Directors loved him because he understood silence. He understood stillness. He understood presence. Stamp lived a spiritual life off-screen: yoga, meditation, travel, and long periods of introspection. He once said that fame came and went, but inner peace was the real treasure. When he passed away at age 87, fans from around the world remembered him not just for his roles, but for the unique energy he brought to every frame. Terence Stamp didn't just act. He embodied myth. Poets don't simply write words. They translate emotions. And Brian Patten was one of the finest translators of the human heart. Born in Liverpool in 1946, Patten grew up in a working-class neighborhood where life was hard, but imagination was limitless. As a boy, he didn't have much, but he had a notebook, and that was enough. He wrote about loneliness, street corners, forgotten people, and quiet hopes. Poetry wasn't a school subject for him. It was survival. In his teens, Patten became part of the Liverpool Poets, alongside Roger McGough and Adrian Henry, at a time when British poetry felt formal and distant. They made it accessible, raw, real, and spoken in the language ordinary people used every day. Their anthology, The Mersey Sound, became one of the best-selling poetry collections of all time. Patten's style was simple yet profound, the kind of writing you understand in one reading but feel for the rest of your life. His poems explored heartbreak, memory, loss, childhood, and the fleeting nature of happiness. Works like Armada, so many different lengths of time, and The Minister for Exams became staples in classrooms across the UK, but behind the public success, Patten lived quietly. He wasn't drawn to fame. He preferred solitude, walking the fields, listening to birds, speaking gently with friends. He often said that silence was where poetry lived. Throughout his life, he published dozens of books, including children's stories that reflected the same tenderness found in his poetry. His readings were calm and intimate, no theatrics, just a soft voice and a universe inside it. When Brian Patten died at 79, readers around the world mourned a poet who spoke to their deepest feelings. His words will continue to comfort those who feel lost, broken, or hopeful, because some poets don't die. Their verses keep breathing. In Canada, hockey isn't just a sport, it's a heartbeat. And few players embodied that heartbeat more than Ken Dryden. Born in 1947 in Hamilton, Ontario, Dryden grew up in a home where education and sport balanced each other. He wasn't just athletic, he was brilliant. Even as a child, he studied the game with a strategic mind far beyond his years. Dryden became a goaltender, a position requiring courage, calmness, and near superhuman focus. By the time he joined the Montreal Canadiens, he was already considered a phenomenon. But no one expected what came next. In 1971, Dryden made his NHL debut during the playoffs, a nearly impossible task. Most players crumble under that pressure. He rose. Game after game, he delivered extraordinary performances, leading his team to a Stanley Cup victory and earning the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. And that was just the beginning. Through the 1970s, Dryden became the defensive backbone of one of the greatest dynasties in hockey history. Standing tall in the net, with his signature calm posture and unshakable confidence, he became a symbol of excellence. His presence alone intimidated opponents, but Ken Dryden wasn't only an athlete. He had a mind shaped for leadership. During his playing career, he earned a law degree, wrote critically acclaimed books, and became one of the most thoughtful commentators on the role of sports in society. His book The Game is widely considered one of the greatest sports books ever written. After retiring, he turned to public service, becoming a member of parliament, a cabinet minister, and an advocate for child welfare and education. Dryden died at age 78, leaving behind a remarkable legacy, an athlete of unmatched achievement, a scholar, a leader, and a man who understood that greatness isn't just about winning, it's about making a lasting impact. Before Hollywood learned how to create heartthrobs, there was Richard Chamberlain, the original television superstar. Born in 1934 in Beverly Hills, Chamberlain wanted to be an artist long before he dreamed of acting. But fate had other plans. After serving in the U.S. Army, he began auditioning and quickly caught the attention of producers, who saw something magnetic in his presence. Then came Dr. Kildare. The medical drama became a cultural phenomenon, turning Chamberlain into a household name. Women taped his photos to their walls, newspapers called him America's Prince, and TV networks realized the power of charming, sensitive male leads, but Chamberlain didn't want to be locked in one role. He moved to stage acting, performing Shakespeare with remarkable depth. Then he returned to Hollywood, but on his own terms. His performance in The Thornbirds became legendary. The forbidden romance, the emotional turmoil, the heartbreak, Chamberlain delivered it with intensity and grace. The miniseries became one of the biggest television events of all time. He continued to shine in Shogun, The Bourne Identity, the original, and countless stage productions. His range extended from romantic leads to villains to tortured historical figures, and he played each one with sophistication. Off-screen, Chamberlain lived a quiet, private life, focusing on spirituality, painting, and writing. His memoir opened conversations about identity and personal truth at a time when Hollywood rarely allowed honesty. When he died at 90, fans remembered him not only as a star, but as a pioneer of modern television drama. He walked so future actors could run. Richard Chamberlain didn't just act. He defined an era. There are comedians, then there are geniuses. Patricia Routledge was the latter. Born in 1929 in Cheshire, England, Routledge developed a love for performance early. She trained in classical theater, becoming a master of diction, timing, and character work. Her voice could shift from elegance to absurdity in seconds, a gift that made her unforgettable. Although she had a successful career on stage and film, her true breakthrough came with Keeping Up Appearances and the birth of Hyacinth Bucket. It's pronounced bouquet. Hyacinth became a global icon, a character so unique, so eccentric, so brilliantly irritating that fans still quote her lines today. Routledge's genius was her ability to play comedy with seriousness. She never mocked Hyacinth, she portrayed her as a woman trying desperately to rise, a reflection of society's obsession with status. Beyond comedy, she was a world-class singer and dramatic actress. She won a Tony Award, Olivier Award, and multiple BAFTAs, a rare triple accomplishment. Despite her fame, Routledge was gentle, private, and humble. She dedicated her later years to charity, education, and quiet living. Her passing at age 96 marked the loss of a true British treasure, a performer who made the world laugh, think, and feel all at once. Patricia Routledge didn't just entertain. She elevated comedy to art. Few actresses had a career as long, diverse, and culturally impactful as June Lockhart, born in 1925 into an acting family. Lockhart practically grew up backstage. She began performing as a child and seamlessly transitioned into film during Hollywood's golden age. She appeared alongside legends like Jen Kelly and Judy Garland, but television made her immortal. Her role as the calm, wise, loving mother in Lassie made her America's mom. Millions of children grew up watching her kindness guide the beloved collie through adventures. Then came Lost in Space, where she transformed into a modern, scientifically intelligent TV mother figure. Her character broke stereotypes. Strong, capable, curious, compassionate, Lockhart was more than an actress. She was an advocate for science and space exploration, eventually being honored by NASA for inspiring generations of young scientists. Her career spanned nearly 80 years, a rare achievement. She received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, accolades from presidents, and love from multiple generations of fans. When she died at 100, Hollywood didn't just lose an actress. It lost a symbol of family, hope, and childhood nostalgia. June Lockhart lived a century, but her influence will live for many more.